Okay, great story. But what's the Apple's version of it? What is the Apple's? And usually it had, the word I always use is it needed torque. It needed torque. And that often came from bringing in some sort of wit to an otherwise very serious situation.
I'm really excited to chat with you about this show. I'm 4 episodes in, so still got some ways to go. But from what I've seen so far, it is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, what about Liane's novel really spoke to you to want to help bring it to life on screen?
Everything. Like, I read The Galleys. Like, I got my hands on it before it was published. And I immediately connected with Joy. I immediately connected with how she was looking at her life, how she felt like the way she was looking at her marriage, the way she was looking at her kids, the way she was looking at the sacrifices she made throughout her life and wondering at this point in time, was it worth it? Am I seen? Am I being taken for granted? I thought that was a very grown-up look at a very honest situation. I loved that it was a story, how do I say this? That it acknowledges that a story about love doesn't mean it's always about love at every moment. You know, it has many shades and many shifts. And I also loved what it had to say about secrets and how we may think we know the people closest to us, but we do not. And all those things kind of came together for me. I love the wit of the book, and I thought, oh gosh, this is just everything I love as a writer, everything. And so I decided to dive in.
That's fantastic. And I love that you mentioned the wit, because that is something I've brought up with everybody so far, is that it walks that really fine tonal line between comedy and mystery. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what is it like trying to translate that in particular above all else?
Yeah, really, really tricky. It's really interesting. It was so fun, but it was like solving a very shifty puzzle. Because you do have this driving mystery, almost a procedural element. You have this thing of like, what happened to this woman? Then you have this character drama that hopefully goes deeper, deeper, deeper. And then you got to laugh. And what, for me, what is very true, I find some of the funniest things aren't jokes. And in this show, there's not a joke, but we laugh. And we laugh because of the characters and how each of these characters brushes up against a situation or another person, and it becomes funny because they themselves are witty in their bones. They're just witty in their bones. But keeping it real like that, not jokey, but witty, is the only way I think we could land the fun against a very serious story of what happened to Joy Delaney and why. Because that's a very serious story that has to be treated with respect. A woman goes missing. And so like figuring out how to, the tone of that, and then the progressive revelation and detonations within the character drama and the family drama. And so often in the writer's room, we would like look at the threads of the stories. And sometimes we pulled back on what was funny because we felt it was undercutting the seriousness. Or other times we go, oh my God, this episode is so serious. We have to bring in the light. We have to mitigate it. Like everything had to have a sort of complexity and balance. And like I'd always say, looking at the boards in the room, okay, great story, but what's the Apple's version of it? What is the Apple's? And usually it had, the word I always use is it needed torque. It needed torque. And that often came from bringing in some sort of wit to an otherwise very serious situation.
Well, you captured all of those layers so well. So kudos to you on that. Now, with how invested you were in Joy in particular, what was it like? What was the casting process like for her? Because Annette, just brings her so much heart to that character.
Heart and soul. She is, just the heart and soul. She's the gravitational center of the show. And that what was really important, what I wrote on the board in the writer's room the first day was what happened to Joy Delaney and why. Because that character has to be as powerful off screen as she is on. She's gone for half of it. She's gone. So who do you cast that still is present? Still is able to be present. So I pictured her from the get. From when I was reading that book, I believed she was Joy Delaney. When I pitched to the network, I'm like, it's Annette Bening. It's Annette Bening. Then I had an initial phone call with her, initial meeting, and she is obviously such an incredible artist, so smart in her approach to her work, so generous. She asked fantastic questions, had great thoughts on things. And we got along, we just got along. It was clear we had the same priorities for the storytelling. And once she was on board, first of all, I pinched myself. I couldn't believe it. And then it's like, well, who is Joy Delaney's husband? Who can go toe to toe with Annette Bening in a very surprising way? And that, very fortunately, is Sam Neill.
And he goes toe to toe with her so well. He's so great. I love everybody in this show, but I love them in particular. I see I'm out of time, so I'm unfortunately going to have to let you go. But hopefully we'll be able to chat about it more soon because I really want to dive further in. So thank you.
I would love it. I would love it, my friend. All right. You be well.